That's all I can say is wow.
Delta Force is one of the most elite and secretive units within the United States military. But what happens when one of its operators goes rogue? On March 2018, tragedy struck the United States military when Delta Force operator Master Sergeant William Levine killed Green Beret Mark Leshiker in mysterious circumstances.
What?
Levine and Sergeant First Class Mark Leshiker were best friends.
What? They was best friends? Bro, it's like a Call of Duty plot.
Mark was a decorated Green Beret who had served in the U.S. Army for over 19 years. He had deployed numerous times to Iraq and Afghanistan and had earned multiple awards for his service. Squad mates described him as an outstanding soldier and a mentor to many. He was always willing to lend a helping hand and to go above and beyond for his team. William Levine shot and killed his best friend, Mark Leshiker, in an inexplicable drug-fueled altercation that no one witnessed but their 5-year-old daughters. Leshiker was suffering from a traumatic brain injury due to an improvised explosive device detonating near him. Because of his traumatic brain injury, Leshiker was prescribed tramadol, which he became addicted to. He'd also self-medicate with Valium. Leshiker and Levine were also known to use cocaine. From March 15th to the 19th, Leshiker and Levine were on vacation together with their families at Disney World in Florida. According to Levine's statement to the police, Leshiker began acting irrationally on the car ride back to Fayetteville, North Carolina. However, documents say that Leshiker's wife, Laura, spoke with him that day, and he sounded lucid to her. On the afternoon they arrived at Levine's home in Fayetteville. It's the last house in a quiet backside of a neighborhood about 20 minutes away from Fort Bragg. Leshiker began working on his car out in the driveway. The two allegedly had an argument, which then turned into a physical confrontation. It turned into a wrestling match, but what the argument was about remains unclear. Levine then went into the home and locked himself inside with both of their daughters, who were around 5 years old at the time. Leshiker's daughter said that William was scaring her, and she unlocked the door for her father to enter. What happened next remains disputed by the family members of both men, but the medical examiner's report reveals some details. Leshiker was found dead by police officers in a prone position with multiple gunshot wounds to his chest and neck. 4 .45 caliber shell casings were found at the scene. 3 of 4 gunshots struck Leshiker, according to the ME report. 1 penetrated his neck and lodged in his back. Another struck him in his right side. The third was a superficial grazing wound across the left side of his neck. Bullet fragments were present underneath the carpet that showed Levine shot Leshiker in the back while he was laying down on the floor after being shot from previous bullets fired by Levine. Levine made sure by that shot Leshiker would die. 3 hits from a .45 caliber bullet at close range by a man trained to use guns makes me believe these were kill shots. Levine's statement to law enforcement at the scene was that Leshiker had attacked him with a screwdriver, though Levine first alleged that Leshiker had killed himself, but then changed his account of what happened. Leshiker's body was inspected by crime scene investigators but found no screwdriver. The only screwdriver they found was not at the scene of his death, but outside near his car where he was removing the battery. Levine was never administered a toxicology screen to test him for alcohol or narcotics in his system following the shooting. Levine was later released from jail. An incident report on the sheriff's website lists it as a justifiable homicide and no charges were filed. It's fairly obvious that the investigation ignored the fact that Levine lied initially in claiming that Leshiker committed suicide. It also ignored the screwdriver issue, which was the weapon Levine claimed that Leshiker allegedly used to justify the homicide. Simply stated, the screwdriver was not found anywhere near the body of Leshiker, which means that everything Levine claimed was untruthful. Leshiker was in tip-top physical condition and could have easily entered the home had his daughter not opened the door for him. Leshiker made no attempt to break into the home despite Levine locking the door with Leshiker's 5-year-old daughter inside. The fact that the screwdriver was located outside the home by the car and not by Leshiker's body inside the home obliterates Levine's account of how Leshiker was killed. Later, the president of the International Association of Forensic Criminologists reviewed the incident and concluded that Levine was not credible. Leshiker's death remains in conflict. SOCOM decided that he died in the line of duty, while the local sheriff's office ruled his death a justifiable homicide, all while Levine continued his work with Delta Force. Short while, on December 2020, William Levine and Timothy Dumas were found dead in the training area of Fort Bragg. Garrison commander stated that foul play is suspected in their deaths, and it's being investigated as a homicide. Although no weapon was found on the scene, the two men were found dead around December in a wooded training area of Fort Bragg near Manchester Road. A passerby had stumbled onto the remains of some type of firefight between a group of people. The deceased man lying face down in the pine straw was Timothy J. Dumas, an Army warrant officer of 19 years service. He had died of an apparent gunshot wound to the head by what is believed to have been a small caliber handgun. An inspection of the gray pickup truck revealed the body of a second man curled into a fetal position, clothed only in a pair of boxer shorts and covered by an Army-issue insulated poncho liner. His body bore multiple gunshot wounds to the torso. Army investigators discovered that the truck belonged to William Levine. A military confidential source told the media the two men had been dead for a few days when their bodies were discovered, but no other details about that has yet been disclosed. Dumas's Dodge Ram pickup truck would be discovered abandoned at a different undisclosed location several days later. The preliminary evidence in the homicide case indicates the men may have been involved in criminal activity before they died. Levine and Dumas were the subjects of a larger investigation involving the distribution of narcotics. The residence of Levine appears to be unknown at this time, even to Army investigators. The record of Levine, when the media investigated, seemed to be wiped clean, almost to the point that he'd never existed at all. The mystery and case of the homicides on December 2020 of Master Sergeant William Levine and Timothy Dumas at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, remains unsolved. Considering how much criminal activity of Levine has been covered up previously by authorities, it's hard to imagine what the investigation will find. Levine sold the home on Anhinga Court in 2019, and his place of residence in the Fort Bragg area was unknown even to investigators. I wonder if these murders will ever be solved considering the criminal activity of both victims. There's no doubt that something very strange was going on in the life of William Levine to end the way it did. The best guess made so far from the evidence available is that these murders were the result of a drug deal gone bad. This begs the question as to why Levine had been allowed to carry on as he did since 2018, when drug trafficking rumors had been persistently made against him. Essentially, Levine killed a fellow soldier who was a close personal friend under very suspicious circumstances. Levine was transported to the sheriff's office and released in maybe 2 hours' time. Levine had to know he would never face any consequences for killing Leshiker when they never tested him for drugs, or accepted a story that he gave that was not matching the physical evidence.
There's no way.
That's not a proper investigation of a homicide by any means. The evidence showed Levine shot Leshiker at least once while Leshiker was laying down on the floor. Now that Levine is dead, there will never be an answer as to what really took place regarding the death of Mark Leshiker. Let us know what you think of this situation in the comments.
Dang, that's like a Call of Duty story right there, my boy. Dang. It's crazy to hear like how things actually happen like that, because I know it happened for sure. Yeah, man, you gotta stay out the way. Deuces.